Marshall.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners who are listening to us on the Morning Watch from the United States of America. Yes, the United States of America. And for those who are accessing us from that medium, one moment, listeners. I'm seeming to have a freeze on my screen. My deep apologies. For those of us who are accessing us from the United States of America, you can access us by connecting with 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live in the main watch today. Entering the USA illegally? How? Why? And implications. And in the second watch, the right of every Jamaican to free education, the Charter of Rights, and this relates specifically to children. For our social media question, we ask, to what lengths do you think some people will go to or would go to enter the United States of America illegally? To what lengths do you think some people would go to so as to enter the United States of America? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first, as I quote.
Good morning, good morning. So today's I quote is an island quote, and it says, "Make one jackass bray." Explanation. It is difficult to see the merit in other person's ideas if everybody attempts to speak at the same time. Also, if someone is speaking foolishly, avoid adding to the confusion. So again, make one jackass bray.
Well, I'm always slow to respond to any quote or any sentence with that word starting with J in it.
I'm just
I
reading what I see.
I do not want to cause unnecessary offense.
I'm just reading what I see.
My I quote here is wisdom.
That's right. Wisdom in all things.
Yes, that's my I quote. Well, Jukal, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
You're doing well today, sir?
I'm good.
I am well. Well, indeed. Happy to be here. Looking forward to a great show. Well, listeners, the main watch will be back after this break.
Wayne, you know Flo Yardan Road now faster than ever?
Yeah, my brethren just get it.
Him love it, though.
Especially the 200 megabit speed and getting a Samsung tablet or phone for $999 plus GCT. You know you got the phone?
So, you coming home now?
Right after I pass the board. There's never been a better time to get the invaluable value of Flo Yardan Road. Sign up and get fiber fast internet at home, unlimited social, YouTube, talk and text with just $4,999 plus GCT. And save big on a Samsung phone or tablet. Conditions apply.
What is a credit card? A credit card is far more than a piece of plastic. A credit card is a loan which is tied to your account at a financial institution. Remember, you still have to pay back the institution on time for any transactions. It's not your money. You have to pay it back or your credit profile will suffer. If you don't pay it back in full, interest will be charged on any outstanding amount. If you don't pay in full, interest will be charged on any outstanding amount.
This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
You work hard to make Jamaica a first-class destination. Isn't it time you receive the 5-star benefit? Retire smarter with the Tourism Workers Pension Scheme, a portable plan that also provides your family with financial security in case of your untimely death. It's easy, affordable, and accessible online. Retire and relax with the Tourism Workers Pension Scheme. Visit twps.myguardiangroup.com or call 876-927-4105. Guardian Life. Live secure. Live easy.
Welcome back to the Morning Wars. Thanks for staying with us. Now, when one enters another country illegally, it is with great risk. You can get deported. And then some people, having been deported, they re-enter the country illegally again, and sometimes again, and sometimes again. Now, the determination to do these things is something that people will question. But another question that can arise is, are there various restrictions that would allow someone to re-enter a country illegally inadequate? What can be the results of such actions? What can be the results of such actions? We have online today to help us look at this topic, this issue, Opal Lee. She is a United States of America, immigration lawyer. Opal Lee, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Marshall. Good morning to everyone. And good morning, of course, to your listeners and viewers on YouTube and the other platforms. Thanks for having me.
Now, just a little bit about your background. You are a lawyer from Jamaica practicing U.S. immigration law. Are we correct?
Correct. I'm also an attorney here in Jamaica as well. But yes, one of my primary areas in the United States is, of course, immigration.
Okay, so I'm sure many people are interested in the things that will be said this morning, but we're taking a slightly different twist. We're not looking so much at entering the United States of America in, the way which people should be looking at it, but we're doing a little bit of a looking a little bit at what gets into the minds of someone who chooses to do it the wrong way, or what do they do to choose to do it the wrong way. Not to promote doing it the wrong way, but just understanding what people really are doing. But first of all, just help the listeners understand and know very briefly, what are the legal methods used to enter the United States of America? The legal ones, legal.
Sounds good. The legal way, the good way, of course, is for applying for admission to the United States. And of course, one of the ways of doing that, if you just want to enter for temporary purposes, you can apply for a visiting visa, right? By filling out the DS-160. Of course, you go to the proper channel, do your interview at the U.S. consulate, and show your significant ties to your home country, which just happens to be Jamaica. Then you want to show your ties, right? You want to show that maybe you have a strong family background here, you have assets here. But one of the most important things is that you have a very good job, or you're getting that job for a long term, right? So that way, if they give you that visiting visa for the intended purposes, they can be assured that, you know what, Mr. Marshall is going to come right back because he has a good job, and there's no way he's going to run off in the United States. So that's one good thing, is to show your ties. And I think the U.S. Embassy would like to see if you've been in that job for at least 3 years or more, right? It shows longevity. The other way, if you want to migrate though to live permanently in the United States, then you can have maybe a qualified family member who could file a petition on your behalf, which could be, a spouse, which is one of the easiest ways, because then you would get that green card or permanent residency in, most times less than 2 years. Or if you have a child who is a United States citizen who is at least 21 years old, then that child could file a petition on your behalf. And that also It's it takes no time. Within a year or two, you'll be able to migrate. Other ones are like family members, such as a parent filing for you. Depending on if you are married or single, it could be a long wait, and especially if you're over 21, we're talking about 6 years up to 10 years. You can have a sibling, a brother,
up to how many years?
6 to 10 years. For example, if you're single and over 20 and 21 years old or over, it's taking about 6 to 8 years right now. Usually it would take about 5 years, but after the backlog started because of the whole COVID pandemic, they've been a little bit behind. So it's now pushing up to now we're seeing 6 to 8 years. If you're married, it's even better because now if you're married, it adds another 8 years or so to your filing, or 5 years or more to your filing, because you're in a different category. And to them, they're thinking, okay, you know what, you already have your family and life going on with you in Jamaica. What's the rush, right? It's not like you're single, so they're in a different category.
Some Jamaicans divorce their
Uh-huh.
spouse,
Well,
go
if you're
to
divorced,
America
it's easier.
single, and then remarry the same spouse in America.
You're going to get me in trouble this morning, Mr. Marshall.
I know I'm not asking you to advise people to do that. I'm asking you that is what some people do because it is an ethical consideration, because we're now kind of dovetailing or segueing now into the illegal ways of getting to the United States of America. Well, we're not dealing with other countries today so much. We're dealing specifically with the USA. So this matter of some people, for instance, Opal, who they'll go to the US, and they seem to get away with it would appear, using an alias name. This is one of the ways that they do it illegally. Any comments?
Oh, definitely. A lot of comments. And going right back to what you were just saying about persons doing it illegally, remarrying and, divorcing and then remarrying. That's one way that they do it, and you're absolutely correct. However, the U.S. has been cracking down on it because they will go back. When you file that other application, sometimes they tend to want to file back for that spouse, right, that they left and divorced. And guess what? They're going to backtrack, and because you have to put your marital history. And if they see that, wait a minute now, you just divorced that person, you married the other person, and now you're marrying that person, they could red flag it, and you could get into trouble where they would withdraw your green card. Going to segue now to what you're basically stating now about the unlawful entry. Yes, people do that. They use aliases, but after 9/11, it's been a little bit less in terms of using aliases because, remember, you still have to do the fingerprint. So using a different name is really not going to help you. What they do, they use what's called coyotes, where they go to another country. For example, if you're coming from Jamaica, they may go over to the Bahamas and use these to the Mexico border. And then they don't go to the proper admission. They're not inspected. So they take the boats. Some of them actually make it to shore, right? And so they are undetected. We call these people that enter this way, we call them undocumented, because we have no way of knowing that they even re-entered the country until, guess what? Later on, they find themselves in trouble, right? They're arrested because they're driving without a license, get a DUI, or some other issue. Maybe have a gun charge, a drug charge, and then when they run the fingerprints at that time, they realize, aha, you were here before, you were deported or removed before, and you know what, you're not going to have any other opportunity to face yourself before an immigration judge anymore. We're just going to summarily remove you from the country. So that's one of the things that we're looking at.
Stick up in there one moment, Opal, because there is an article online in what a publication called The News, and the title of that publication is Jamaican Man Deported from US for, put your seatbelts on, not the first, not the second, but the third time. The third time. Jamaican man deported from US for third time. And on the relevant times that he was, apprehended, so to speak, it was because an offense had been committed by him, according to the article. So any comments there? You just made mention that sometimes that's how they catch the person, yes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, once
hold that thought 1 second, Opal, because I see where we are already upon a break. Listeners, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Here's a message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools. The time, courtesy of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, is
7:15 and a half.
This year's International Women's Day is about embracing equity, and in support, Sagicor is offering products geared for women. We'd like you to embrace Ultimate Woman Policy from Advantage General, higher rates on repos from Sagicor Investments, bonus credit card points, and the mortgage offer from Sagicor Bank, plus critical illness and pregnancy complication coverage with Total Woman Insurance, and other benefits from Sagicor Life. To embrace any of these Sagicor products, call 888-SAGICOR today. Conditions apply.
Crystal Clear and Sharp Vision. Ultra Clear is a total natural herbs formulated to activate the adult replacement stem cells in your body, sending them to the eyes to repair the damaged cells. Take 1 teaspoon daily in hot water and watch the improvement in your vision. To get yours, call Hafco Herbs 876-540-8871. That's 540-8871 or WhatsApp 533-0462. Kingdom Culture presents The Well Encounter with Maverick City's Chandler Moore and Naomi Rain, Kevin Downswell, Harleen Davis, Rondell Positive, Rhoda Isabella. Tickets at SparOpen.com/TWE22. Supermed Pharmacies, Sangster's Bookstore, 876-676-5953. Sponsored by Clear Sound Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Purity Chase Fund, Love 101, Race KFC. Part proceeds to Food for the Poor. The Well Encounter, Saturday, March 18th, Sabina Park, 6:30 p.m. Meet us at the Well.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. We are in the main watch. We're having a very interesting conversation with U.S. immigration lawyer Opal Lee. She is a Jamaican, and the topic is entering the USA legally. How, why, and implications. And just to make sure it's abundantly clear, we are not promoting or encouraging people entering the US illegally. We're looking at the various ways people do so, even when they, of course, should not be doing it. Now, Opal Lee, you were explaining one way that people enter the country legally. You gave an example. In a nutshell, they might leave Jamaica, go to another Caribbean territory or so on. I think you mentioned Bahamas. Yes, you did. And then they would cross over. They would cross the sea, the ocean, by boat and get onto U.S. soil. And of course, they would be undocumented in how they did that. Now, you mentioned the term coyote, COYOTE. I think this is what you meant, Opal Lee, coyote. And would you like to just enlighten us as to what coyote means?
So these are people who they pay to help them enter the United States. So, for example, you will have people coming from Mexico. They would pay these people sometimes substantial amount of money for them to get them across one way or the other. Either they drive in their vehicle coming through the Mexico border, they hide in the back of the vehicle, but they're in charge of getting them across the border. If you ever see some of those stories online where you see people coming over in trucks, right? There was a very sad story where so many hundreds actually died in the back of the truck because it was not air conditioned, right? And
yes, I heard about that.
Exactly.
Very sad.
Coyotes, it was very, very indeed. And they pay these coyotes to get them over. And, you asked a very important question earlier, like, why do people do this? And, in doing several consultations with people, I see that they have so many reasons. One of the most popular is one, like, if they never even entered the United States, they have the fear because they listen to their friends and other family members say, listen, I can't get no visa, I don't have no good job or anything, and I'm not married, and they're going to put fake marriage and all that stuff, and I know I'm not going to get it. So sometimes they don't even try because they just listen to hearsay that they're not going to get it. And you'll be surprised that some of these people, had they only did the proper channel, that they may surprise themselves and would have even gotten it. But going back to your main topic, which people who were actually in the United States deported and actually re-entered, they enter as well for different reasons. One, maybe because of economic reasons, right? They're fleeing, they're thinking nothing going on for them in Jamaica. They're here, they are deported. can't get no job, can't do anything, nothing going on for them. They need to get back to their life that they have known in the United States, right? And so they go ahead and they try to do this for economic reasons. Another reason is maybe they're fleeing persecution, but maybe it's not the persecution that will get them back into the United States. For example, one of the most important one, if you're fleeing persecution because you're a member of a certain social class, for example, maybe it's because of your religious affiliation, maybe because of your political beliefs, your sexual orientation, you're being targeted, you're being persecuted, so you have to flee. So that's one reason as well. But sometimes, though, Mr. Marshall, they're fleeing not because they're a member of this protected class, but maybe it's gang affiliated, right? They may be in a war and somebody,
maybe it is what affiliated?
They may be in a gang.
A gang,
right?
yes.
In a gang in Jamaica. And you know how in Jamaica things get hot, to get heated, right? You have to leave because, if you head out on the road right now, you're going to be dead.
Yes. So you and the gang members are no longer seeing eye to eye. You have to run for your life.
There we go. But guess what? That's technically not a protected class. So that's not one way you can...
It will never be.
And so listen, guard me, hide me. I'm a murderer, I'm a killer, and my cronies want to kill me. No, yours is not going to let you in. That's not a protected class.
No.
Exactly. So for those, they don't want to come in, through the proper channels. They're the ones who's going to come through undetected, whether they have to speak to the border,
yes,
go on the banana boat,
yes,
whatever they have to do. And yes, so you see this all the time. I've done consults with, just as the article you were reading, people who have been removed 3 times and they re-enter. But guess what? They're very creative and they go through a lens. People go through a lens depending on the reason why they're entering. Of course,
a controversial one here, Opal, and please don't throw rotten eggs at me, anyone who is hearing this one. I have heard persons say, and I'm very careful how I word it, some persons allege that officials from the United States have facilitated the entry into the USA illegally, but it is done in such a way where the documents seem all perfectly legal. Openly, any comments if you can comment on that?
I'm not going to throw rotten eggs on you because you know what? That is definitely quite a possibility. It is quite... One moment, let me just step out here.
Okay, Opal, we're speaking to Opal, U.S. immigration lawyer. Go ahead, Opal.
Right, but you're absolutely right. They do that because in every area, you're always going to see there's something and some backdoor dealing, somebody who you could pay because they were saying money talks and whatever thing else. And so you're always going to have in most, unfortunately, a lot of employment. You have the bad apples who are willing to sell their souls to get things done. So I'm not at all surprised by that. And yes, it is.
Another one that I'm asking, that no rotten eggs or big stones be thrown at me. No, I'm adding big stones. I have heard of, and because of the audience we have here on the Morning Watch, including many believers, I've heard of some persons who are believers, Christians, who they find themselves using some of these illegal ways to enter the USA. And I remember hearing about, the first time I heard about it, I kept a straight face, listened, and said, in the quietness of my mind, I said, wow, Christians are doing this too. Essentially running off, so you get a 6 months, to stay in the USA, you just don't come back. Any comments, openly?
In their defense, Mr. Marshall, right?
Yes, all right, let's hear the defense.
I'm a Christian myself.
Yes, let's hear the defense.
You went to the United States. You never plan on overstaying your 6 months, but then you fell in love, right? And then when you fell in love, then the next thing you know, you're proposed to.
Yes.
By a United States citizen, church brother or sister, or whoever. And then you go ahead and you extend your stay. So technically, some people call that running off because you entered with a visiting visa. But the thing is that you can show that you never intended. When you boarded your flight at the Norman Manley International Airport or the Sangsters, you had every intention of coming back to your lovely island, Jamaica. But then things changed once you got here.
Well, the case I heard about, there was no marriage in the offings, but I leave it right there, Opal. Now, finally, in commenting on this matter of persons entering the USA legally, how can it be stopped? Because it's really a very dangerous practice, and of course, it can affect Jamaica's relationship with the USA, and it's really illegal, and it's also immoral. So, how can it be stopped, or at least curtailed?
Right. And I think what the Biden administration, President Biden administration, he's kind of trying to do that right now with a recent law that was implemented because he saw so many people from, especially Haiti, coming over Honduras and also Cuba. The influx of those people at the border was very significant. So what they did to curtail and to have them not come to the border, he put something in place where these people can remain in their country, and if they have qualified, it doesn't have to be a family member, it could be a friend who can show that they have the financial resources to go ahead and sponsor them. They could file an I-134, which is a financial form showing, their monies, their income and everything. And then guess what? These people, if they remain in the country, they can't come to the border. So that's how they curtail it. You cannot do this if you come to the border. So if you remain in your country and these people file and submit the application, then if it's approved, you get a pass to come to the United States for 2 years. You get even a work permit for those 2 years. So here it is now, you're admitted. And to be honest, that has curtailed it a lot. We're seeing a lot more people. Go ahead.
I said it. I was just, in a nutshell, saying, okay, so it has. Okay. It
has curtailed it. Yes, we're not seeing a lot of.
As you bring this up, you mentioned some categories earlier on, and I'm speaking more about my knowledge of what happens in the UK, where persons would seek to go to the UK to say that they're seeking asylum because of their sexual orientation, and they might make certain allegations, but when they go there and the matter is ventilated in court, the court doesn't necessarily agree that their sexual orientation was a reason. So it's not necessarily a guarantee that if you put yourself forward as being in one of these categories that it's going to be successful, is it?
Absolutely not. And a lot of those get denied because they're not able to show the actual proof, right? You need to have the evidence. If you have been persecuted, for example, in Jamaica because of your homosexuality, you have to show evidence. Show me the medical records. Show me the threat. Show me those things. And sometimes they can't produce it. They're not able to produce police reports. They're not able to produce medical records. And so a lot of times, they have to get friends, family members to show them that this person's orientation is exactly as they state. So, they'll have witnesses and stuff. But sometimes they're not able to meet their burden. And yes, the application gets denied. And guess what? They get deported.
We're almost out of time, Opal. Any final comments you want to leave with us?
No, that's right. I mean, the final comment is that it's better to do it the proper way, because if you try to enter illegally, you're going to live a life of just misery, just looking behind your shoulders, wondering if you're going to be deported next, and it's just too much aggravation. Just stay in your own country. Let an attorney like myself or an attorney of your choosing do this for you, because we know what we're doing, and let's try to do it the proper way.
Yes, and you mentioned this thing, I know we're out of time, but you mentioned this matter of people always looking over their shoulder. That is common, you're saying, openly, and getting into the psyche of such a person, what kind of life do they really live?
Very uncomfortable, not able to drive, right? Sometimes they can't get a driver's license. They just stay in the home, and they can't go to certain places, can't go to the ports, for example, even to ship something, because you never know, they may be accosted by CBP, which is Customs and Border Patrol. Next thing, they're in trouble.
And they open themselves up to all manner and all types of abuse because of the kind of employment that they are allowed, with the kind of employment that they can't seek, and so they take anything they can get.
Which is a whole other topic, because there's relief for that as well, but that's not a segue, but yes, you're absolutely correct.
Understood. Opal, I want to thank you for your time and for your thoughts. Miss Lee, it has been very interesting, very enlightening. Thank you for being with us today, and all the best. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Thank you for having me.
JN Bank Bank Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Bank Small Business Loans is
7:30.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school, and now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less, or 2 or 3, at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar, and sodium, it may reduce our risk of obesity, heart disease, and high blood pressure. The solution is simple, right? Together, let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
For 51 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Tuesdays by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, Grow Smart, Eat Smart, and on Thursdays by the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, Health, Safety, and Fairness in Trade. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. And for those of you just joining, welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. And again, for those just joining, thank you for joining us. Now we take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. We have here in the Gleaner, sick out by immigration officers. Results in delays. Disgruntled passengers. Observer. This headline reads, sellout. Teachers berate union. Push to leave after delegates accept government's way. Over to, and whilst my screen is a bit frozen, I know that the headline is in relation to the use of water in the drought. Okay, here it is. Health advisory for sourcing and using water in drought conditions. And the health advisory is very interesting. It even goes on to talk about how you should treat with your water, or how you can treat with your water independently to ensure that the water is safe. It mentions boiling. It also mentions using bleach, and there are guidelines in relation to ensuring that you don't use too much bleach. It actually says 2 drops to 1 quart. It goes on to say 6 to 8 drops to 1 US gallon, and half teaspoon to 5. Agitate vigorously and allow to stand for 30 minutes before consuming. And in brackets it reads, do not use bulk bleach. I'll read that again. Do not use bulk bleach. As I thought I would pause to read that one as an advisory to listeners, because we don't want anyone in Jamaica or anyone at all to become ill or suffer. We don't want any fatalities either, because someone probably were trying to treat their water with bleach alone and made an error. That's the last thing we want to hear. Well, of course, coming up next, we'll read through some of the feedback from our Facebook, WhatsApp, and of course, YouTube question. And that is in relation to what lengths do you think some people will go to? To what lengths do you think some people will go to so as to enter the US enter the USA, to what lengths people will go to enter the USA illegally. And of course, again, I don't know what is happening this morning. My screen seems to be acting quite slowly. Listeners, I crave your indulgence and patience, but it is now back. It is now back. So if you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 100 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Is reincarnation real? What does the Bible say about this concept? Was anybody in the Bible reincarnated? Is it too folly to believe it whether or not you're a Christian? Tuesday, March 14, on The Rock, join host Bishop Harold Steve Blair and guests Andrew Green and Pastor Carl Wisdom as they discuss the topic reincarnation. That's The Rock, Tuesday, March 14 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101. The Basketball Community and Wellness Pharmacy, in association with Meds Are Us Doctor Office, is hosting a free community health fair Thursday, March 16, starting at 9 a.m. at Sir B's Complex, Main Street, Stewarttown, St. Mary, with free eye testing and doctor visit. Bring your documents for free RGD and path appointment. Sponsored by Winters Petroleum, eBay's Document and Service Hunt Limited, Meds Are Us Limited, Ophthalmic Suits, Brockfield Tires, and Colonial's 7-Eleven Supermarket. Love 101 FM will be live on location at 1 p.m. as Sarah Ann Edwards Miller will give us all the details. That's the Basketball Community and Wellness Pharmacy, in association with Meds Are Us Doctor's Office, free community health fair, Thursday, March 16 at 1 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Get ready for another inspiring show that's Testimony Tuesday inside Alive, 1 to 5 March 14, packed with inspirational stories and talent-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain testing meant to size, Listener Speak Edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 Inside the Evidence, we talk with evangelist Louise Watson, who has proven God in wondrous ways through her faith. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit for part 2 with a man with a powerful story, Minister Stanford Bennett of the Word Light and Power Victory Ministry. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. March 14 with me, Sarah Ann, the chirpy one on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Everybody feeling alive. Just the spirit feeling alive.
For 51 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Wednesday by the Bank of Jamaica, Building an Inclusive Economy, and on Thursday by the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, Health, Safety, and Fairness in Trade. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Jukal for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. To what lengths do you think some people would go to so as to enter the USA? Jukal.
All right, so I have some responses here on WhatsApp. Sister Ingrid says people will sell their parents if it means they can go to the USA. Desperate needs, desperate measures. So bad though. Life is hard in Jamaica. And then, well, that was from Jackie Douglas. Sister Ingrid says some people go far even by selling their soul. Interesting. So those are the two that I have on WhatsApp for right now.
Yes, you know, the first comment you read mentioned the, in a nutshell, financial hardship, and that is real, Jukal. Real.
Yeah, it is.
Real. I don't mean real like just a light reel. A heavy reel. REAL. Serious.
Right.
A lot of people are struggling, fighting. They cannot manage.
Cannot
And
make
when you're in that situation, you begin to think of doing things you really should not be doing,
yeah,
but
every
not finding
possible
an excuse for it, but just saying some people are struggling,
right.
really struggling, and unfortunately, they might choose the wrong path,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
oftentimes they get caught. Well, let us move on to the second watch. As we continue our series on Jamaica's Charter of Rights, today we look at, quote, the right of every child who is a citizen of Jamaica to publicly funded tuition in a public educational institution at the pre-primary and primary levels, unquote. Our guests today are Shirley Richards and Wendell Wilkins, both attorneys at law. Miss Richards, good morning. We're hearing you. Mr. Wilkins, are you online?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you too, Mr. Wilkins.
Yes.
Good morning. Excellent. Good having you both. Now, jumping right into it. A lot to look at here in terms of this right. Well, first of all, let's back up a little bit. The Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. Miss Richards, in a nutshell, would you just like to just indicate to the listeners very briefly what that is all about? Then we begin to look specifically at this one. Shirley Richards?
Right. Well, it is a document within our constitution that guarantees to Jamaicans certain rights. And meaning, well, in constitutional law classes, we used to hear the term justiciable rights.
Yes.
They have been included in the constitution with the aim of giving citizens a basis for claiming or for claiming compensation, for claiming giving a remedy in the event of a breach or even an anticipated breach of what is stated in that document. So that's what the Charter of Rights is about. And remember, it was amended. We did have a section with, it was Chapter 3. It still is Chapter 3 within the 1962 Constitution, but this charter was amended in 2011. And so this is a document which we now use, the 2011 document.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And in terms of this right for publicly funded tuition, every child who is a citizen of Jamaica having the right to publicly funded tuition in a public educational institution at the pre-primary and primary levels is very carefully worded, many words. What is it really saying to us, Miss Richards?
Well, I think it's something that as Jamaicans we need to avail ourselves of, that our young children are entitled to publicly funded tuition. And
when we say young children, it says specifically pre-primary and primary levels.
Right.
Suggesting kindergarten or basic school up to when they do what we now call PEP.
That's right. That's my reading of it. Kindergarten and primary schools. So this is here it is that the state is saying to us as Jamaicans, listen, send your children to school. Because we have taken upon ourselves as a state. The state has taken upon itself the responsibility of providing publicly funded tuition to our children at the pre-primary, kindergarten, and the primary levels.
Interesting. Wendell Wilkins, any comments before we head to the break?
Yes, I want to recognize the importance of this fundamental right. You can't be a human being going somewhere in some life without having some basic formal education. And that is good to have as a fundamental right that you can enforce. However, this is just a paper right. On paper, what is happening in the real world in terms of that right. That is what we need to explore. There's no controversy about the existence of the right, but how does it manifest itself? Is that right given to the children showing value? Is it achieving some end objective?
Well, we will definitely be exploring this, Wendell Wilkins, and we are now upon a break. Hold the thought, hold that thought. Listeners, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Time on Love 101 is now 7:45 and a half.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life. Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
With us, we're having a very important and interesting discussion this morning with two Wilkins, and the topic in the second watch, freedoms, the right of every child in Jamaica to free education at the pre-primary and primary levels. Now, Mr. Wilkins, just before the break, you made mention that yes, the right exists on paper, but in society in general, is it being actualized? I think you're trying to, in a nutshell, say, is a Jamaican child who wishes to avail themselves of this right in a position so to do, or are they benefiting from the right? Am I correct, Mr. Wilkins?
Yes, it's a whole...
Mr. Wilkins, are you still with us? Yeah.
Hello?
Well, before we head there, before we go to the point of, before we look at why some children are not able to take advantage of the right, I want to raise this topic. Do you think, or this matter, do you think the right doesn't go far enough? Should it go up to high school? Some might even argue even tertiary, for example, maybe at least a first degree. Shirley Richards, any thoughts?
Oh, okay, thanks. I thought Mr. Wilkins was coming in with something, though. I was hearing him, and I wouldn't want to interrupt him. But anyway,
we're going to go back to that in a second, but I'm asking firstly, do you think it should go further than just primary and pre-primary?
I think that was carefully drafted, simply because what the government is doing is making certain that they take on total responsibility for education at this level. It may be, maybe this constitutional reform exercise that is being done, it may be that it will be extended. Should it be extended, the government will have to sit carefully, because there's an obligation on them, on the government, on the state, to provide the resources in order for the child to to access this right. So they would
Yeah.
have to sit and carefully ensure and carefully deliberate to see whether or not this it is
If you can afford it.
it's a good thing, right? It is affordable to
Yeah.
this state. It's something which we want to happen, but obviously there is a dollar cent
There's a cost to
issue,
it. Yes, yes, yes.
which has to be looked at first.
And the state doesn't want to impose upon itself a duty that it can't necessarily perform at all times. And it's another thing, it covers tuition. It doesn't cover anything other than tuition,
I know.
if you notice. Tuition only. So
Right.
all these extra fees,
That's what I noticed. Yes.
all these extra fees like auxiliary fees are not included. Well,
Right.
Mr. Wilkins, you were coming with a comment, I think, but for some reason I wasn't quite hearing you, and I thought you had stopped speaking. My apologies.
No.
Mr.
I
Wilkins,
am right here, and I'm hearing you, both of you. What I
yes.
was saying is that we have a paper right, which is good, but we have to look at the real world now. To enjoy that right, you have to have certain things that must be present. There's a cost factor involved for the parents and the guardian. Can they afford it? Is there an income? Is the economy running at a level to give them an income so that the child can be presented to school with the educational tools that are required, with the uniform
Yes.
and so forth?
Can they afford the uniform, the transportation cost to get to school,
All of that is a burden on many parents and
to give them a
guardians.
little breakfast, to send them out?
Yes. The question of whether there's support for those who can't afford it, if they have to do a means test and do they qualify. What about hunger? The science says you can't learn if you are in attendance and you're hungry. So there's a hunger factor. There's the question of the support of
Well,
the
there's a PATH program and other things that have been done over time to help.
Is that enough?
But continue, Mr. Wilkins.
That's enough. And also the question of the plant. What kind of plant you have as a school? Do we have proper classrooms? What about the ratio of students to teachers?
teacher.
There's a limit on how you can impart the good knowledge if you have too many students in the classroom. Question of facilities, equipment, and what is the national objective of this entire educational right that has been given to these young ones? It has to be a national objective that is consistent with progress and a good quality of life. Are we producing the quality of students that when they come out, they are functional in terms of the requirements of the real world? Are we producing sufficient persons who can be gainfully employed right away? All of these things have to be looked at. What about children with special needs? Certainly they can't be left out of the national progress. Is there sufficient funding? Is there sufficient teachers and certain types of teachers to deal with young ones with special needs and those who are able-bodied? Are we producing enough scientists to take us into the new dispensation? All of that needs to be examined and valued. What about the educators? Are they qualified?
I was going to go there, but you have gone there now, Mr. Wilkins. Yes, yes.
Certainly, you have an expression where people talk about, I can't get employment anywhere else, so I go into the education system, by default. But are we really interested to be educators? And what are we teaching the young ones? So all of these things, many of them complicated matters, touch upon national policy, touches upon funding, and the paper right that we have in the Constitution must be reflected in reality in a real sense. Otherwise, we won't get value for money. And we do know that lots of dollars are spent in the budget each year on education, but are we getting the results? Are we producing young ones that can move into the new dispensation and build the nation and the national objective.
You have said a mouthful, more than a mouthful, Mr. Wilkins. Mr. Richards, you're coming in?
Yes. If I may, I think it was good of the government to have included this clause in the Charter of Rights, and I think it does show the mind of the government, or the mindset of the government, to say, listen, education is important, education of our young ones is important, and we are making certain that it is available. To my mind, I grew up in the country, educational facilities are much more accessible than they were in many years past. I find that there is not a hunger in the parents for the children to be educated, for the children to be sent to school. And I find that in the schools, there are different programs to take care of the social needs. In times past, our forefathers had to walk miles to get to school with the accessibility, with more education.
My father told me that he used to walk 7 miles to school.
Absolutely. And then your father became a professor, right? And so it did not impede him. But we put a lot of, we don't place enough emphasis as parents on education. We have to instill that hunger in our children for education. And this is what I find lacking. Let me just say something on the disability issue that Mr. Wilkins raised. I know as a fact that the Ministry of Education does provide assistance for disabled children. And I'm not just talking financially, but if you find that your child has an issue, then the thing to do is to get that child tested. And then once the results are there, I mean, the school would have to be in touch with your situation. Once the results are there, you take them to the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Education has committed itself to provide assistance for special needs children. So I know that I'm convinced that as a nation we are trying. We're not quite there yet. Boy, it sounds like I'm talking on behalf of the Ministry of Education. But anyway, it sounds that way. It sounds that way. we need to take advantage of what is available to us in terms of education. And I think we have, as a country, we have traveled quite a distance. There's further to go, but we have covered a good amount of distance where education is concerned.
Well, we're almost. I was about to ask you for a final word, Mr. Wilkins, because we're almost totally out of time. Go ahead.
Efforts are being made, but so far, I think there is enough research data to show that the output of the kids, the young ones that we are producing into the society, is not where it ought to be.
I agree with you.
To fix the system, because there are kids who are coming out who cannot read and write as they should. There are kids that are coming out that don't have the science and the disposition to deal with the dispensation that we are now in.
They are promoted in the school system, but they come out not being properly literate in the way they need to be. Yes, and numerate.
And they need to come out to have a place in nation building.
Yes, or they're going to become frustrated and they might end up in a gang or something like that.
That is right.
Or otherwise, not being gainfully employed.
Right. We
them.
And remember now, education is not in the schools only. It is in the home.
That's another topic, Mr. Wilkins, and we're totally out of time. Mr. Wilkins, that's another topic. We are totally out of time. We have to leave it there today, Mr. Wilkins and Ms. Richards. We're totally out of time, but you brought up something which is another topic. Thank you, Mr. Richards. Sorry, Ms. Richards and Mr. Wilkins. Thank you, Mr. Wilkins and Ms. Richards, for being with us today. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. And, of course, visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to us the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing back to Love in the Morning with Jukal.
Even you could be caught in the crossfire. If you know something, say something. Speak out and save the nation.